today. I'm gonna teach you how to put a water heater in. This is my apprentice Josh.
How we doing?
Step-by-step procedure to do a professional installation. Procedures, what you need to do. Help your water heater last longer. Tools, etc. So Josh, what do we have to do today first? What's our first thing we do?
Shut off the main, shut off the gas valve, start getting ready to pump the water heater out, disconnect everything.
Okay, sounds great. I think our first step is to get our tools in. So let's get our tools in, let's get rocking. For a water heater installation, the first thing you do with any project is to make sure you have all the parts that you need. Check your water heater that you have there now. Get all your products that you're going to use for a proper water heater installation. You need an expansion tank, optional. If you're on a well tank, you don't need one because your well storage tank is your expansion tank. We like to put a mixing valve and tempering valve. We don't rely on the gas valve to mix the hot water. Gives you help. Gives you a way to keep the customer from getting scalded. So first steps first, we're going to make sure we have everything we need before we start the project. So here's what you're going to need for a installation of a water heater. Okay, first things first. Hose. You need a hose. You need a garden hose. You need a hose if you're just going to drain it out with just a hose. We pump them out. So we need, you'll see in a minute, we have a laundry hose. Okay. These are the things we're going to need today. Gas leak detector. Pipe cutter. Pro press. A crimping tool. Proper jaws for the size of pipe we're using. You'll need pipe dope, Teflon tape, pipe cutter. You may need a little miniature cutter. Get tight up if you're going to cut the pipes up high near the joist with close cutters. Pipe cutter, level, pencil marker of some sort, channel locks, an adjustable wrench, pipe wrench possibly, Phillips screwdriver, flat blade screwdriver. We need to make sure we have stuff to clean the pipe if the pipe's dirty, if you have any paint on it, etc. These are specialized tools that plumbers use that we can clean fitting and the outside of the pipe, so we use those. Okay, so we are using ProPress, so we're going to need to make sure that we clean the burrs off the pipe after we cut it. So we use an inside outside reamer for that. We're doing a gas water heater today, so we'll be taking the smoke pipe off. So we need a 5/16 1/4" bit for our drill today, and a water heater pump, utility pump. We're going to use that to pump the water heater out. Okay, and then we have products that we're going to be using. Every scenario is different. So today we're going to install, because we're on municipal water, city water, we're going to be using a expansion tank, a potable water expansion tank today. And we're going to be using a Caleffi domestic tempering valve for our domestic water. We're going to also be installing our water heater in a water heater pan. Okay, so our first step is done. We'll move on to the second step, and that's draining the water heater properly. What you need to understand is most water heaters, when they go bad, most of them have gone bad for lack of maintenance, improper installation, and what we deal with in this scenario is sediment. So what we want to do when we're draining this water heater out is we want to kind of flush the water heater. So what I do is I leave the hot water valve off if there's one on. I shut it off. I turn the valve on, and if the water heater's leaking, I turn it on anyways. Then I take my screwdriver and get Josh to grab me a flathead screwdriver. That'd be great. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn the valve on the bottom of the water heater, and we're going to use the pressure coming into the house to flush out the tank before we try to use our pump, or if you're just draining it out with a hose. You want to make sure that all the sediment is free from the tank. I see a lot of guys just shut this valve off, try to drain the tank out before they hook their pump up, and they put the pump on or they put the hose on, they try to drain it, and then they run into problems. There's steps that we can do if the drain is clogged, but we want to try to eliminate that problem. We're going to empty that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to use the flathead screwdriver right there, and just open that up. Yep. On the bottom. We're going to let that run through our pump for a minute or two. We'll flush that out, get that all cleared up. Otherwise you'll just end up trying to drain a tank forever and ever and ever sometimes. So that's step 2. We're going to drain it. We're going to shut the gas valve off, which we have a gas valve on the other side. Josh, want to grab that gas valve over there? That one over there. Yep, we have a gas valve. Shut the gas off. Okay. We're going to make sure that it's flushing out real good before we go ahead and shut the water off. We're going to be replacing the 2 shut-off valves. That's just my MO. So, all right, we're going to move on to step 3 in a minute or two. Right now we have to remove some of the existing parts. So what we're going to do, take the smoke pipe off here. We're going to have a few screws right here. We're going to cut these pipes now. We'll end up doing some modification up here. So stay with us. We're going to go right through. We're going to rock and roll now. We have our pipe cut here. We have our smoke pipe removed. Now we're removing the gas supply. Our gas is shut off. I'm going to take the camera down and show you what we're taking apart. So this is, if you have this in your house, this is CSST. It's corrugated stainless steel pipe. This is a union here. You need to be certified to be playing with this stuff. Be very careful with this stuff, and I suggest a contractor for this. If you have this stuff in your home, it's not something you should be playing with. So here we go. We have a union here. A lot of guys are going, where's your drip leg? Well, we have a drip leg right around the corner. A drip leg's a condensate sediment trap that we have to have on there to collect debris before it hits the gas valve. So I'll show you that right now, just so you know we have one in place. Our gas shut-off valve is right here, and this is a sediment trap. We need to have that to protect the gas valve. Water heater's drained out. Our water pipes are cut. We've removed the smoke pipe, and we've disconnected the gas. We had CSST. That CSST was a plumber. Somebody installed a fireplace upstairs, so we had to disconnect that to the fireplace. So we're going to teach you something about that and during the installation, what was wrong with that. But now we take the old water heater out, and we're going to bring the new one in. So stand by. We're going to step number 3. That's the installation. We'll dress the water heater up. And today we're dealing with some wooden stairs, and wouldn't you know it, the third tread just popped right up before we got even started. So thank God we had some stuff on the truck to fix the treads on the stairs. But when you're installing and replacing a water heater, always make sure you take care of the basement steps where you're going. If you're going through the house, put a tarp down. Make sure to protect the property you're working in. Here's an area where there's a lot of snow here. It's not fun in the wintertime doing this stuff. I'm gonna shovel the driveways and shovel the walkways before we even get started. So we got Josh up here on the truck. What do you think, Josh? You liking this job so far?
Yeah, let's get it done.
A little tech tip from experience here. Always number one, make sure before you unpackage your water heater, your new one, that you actually got the correct water. You double check, quadruple check to make sure. We're gonna make sure we're doing the right water heater. We have a natural gas, that's what we're working with. We have it's 40 gallons. Okay, so we're good. We have natural gas. I have had scenarios where we've unboxed it and it was a propane. That's not fun. That's dangerous. So just make sure you pay attention to that little detail. We use the bricks that we've had here only because we would have to alter the gas piping to get it to work. A lot of it. Not that it's hard, but we didn't come prepared to redo the whole gas line to make this installation work. So we're just gonna go ahead and use the bricks. This other water heater was only 7 years, unfortunately. The tank didn't last that long. Reasons for that could be, and we're going to test all this stuff in one of our steps today. Pressure, incoming pressure from the house, expansion tank. There was no expansion tank on this installation, the existing installation. We're going to be doing that. It's going to protect that. Probably another thing, lack of maintenance. Nobody came here to flush this old water heater out. Okay. You do not want to use this on gas. I see all the time. The white stuff, anything. You don't want to use that on gas piping. They make a gas tape. It's yellow, made for gas. You certainly can use that. All my life, over 35 years, I've been fine with just pipe thread sealant. Okay. We're going to be using this Blue Monster thread sealant today on the gas. Don't use this, and the reason for that is the little fine stuff through the tape. Excuse me. And if you can see that, you see the little tiny looks like a little thread there that gets inside the gas valve. No good. Plug up your orifices. No, not good. You're fine. You don't need no tape. I have used the gas tape before, on bigger stuff. You know, usually anything over 1 inch, I'll start using the yellow tape with the thread sealant. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and use this. don't have to, I see a lot of people just take a big old glob of it and paint it all over it like it's a Picasso. Don't have to do that. That looks terrible. Okay? Notice how I'm using two pairs of pliers. Always try to use two pairs of pliers so you don't spin the other fittings when you're doing this. Make sure these are clean, the old threads. You could reuse this stuff. See how they put too much pipe dope in there? You want to clean that out, pipe thread sealant. You want to clean that out of there as best you can, because all that stuff can get in the gas valve. Again, you ain't got to paint this like it's a Picasso. I see some guys that just plain hacks. Nice and easy on this stuff. You don't need to go crazy. Even that's a little bit too much. Alright, so, right. I love the heating guy who put this expansion tank in. He didn't have a short enough nipple to get his expansion tank to the boiler. Get rid of it. Okay, so follow me up, Josh. I'm gonna do a little explaining here on the CSST scenario we got. This is a corrugated stainless steel pipe. This yellow coating here protects it from corrosion. There has been a lot of problems with this stuff over the years. They've redesigned this stuff. You'll see this with black coating on it that's supposed to absorb lightning strikes. When you got a lightning strike, if it hits the gas pipe that's on the outside of the house, that lightning strike will follow the least place of resistance. This is a lot thinner material, and what happens, what has happened in the past is that it pops, the lightning strike pops a hole through it and causes explosions. So I'm going to show you what we're supposed to do and what we're going to have done by a certified electrician. We're simply going to have them add a ground. We're going to take a ground wire back to either a grounding rod outside, or in this scenario we're going to bring a grounding wire back to the panel. So I'm going to show you where to put that. You got to be careful with this. Like I said earlier in this video, you should be certified to do this. I don't recommend any homeowners doing this type of work whatsoever. Gas is dangerous, so work at your own risk when you're playing with CSST corrugated stainless steel gas piping, because it's nothing to be playing with if you don't know what you're doing. So get back on this here. I've got the union done. I've got the connection here done. Now we're going to go ahead to the potable water side. Our smoke pipe is almost complete. Go ahead and turn this on, put this on here. Before we're done today, we're going to screw this smoke pipe back down on there. And now we're ready to dress up the water heater. Normally I like to put my adapters on before I put my draft hood on, but we're okay. So we need the Teflon tape. I have that right here, Josh. And then now we'll use the best pipe thread sealant there is, which is in my tool bag over there. If you've watched any of my videos, I showed you how to Teflon tape. If you don't know how, you can go ahead and watch my 4-part series on a well tank installation that Teaches you how to put Teflon tape on fittings properly. You'll see why I like to put my tape on first before I put my draft hood on. You can see I can't really get behind there, but I guess it's a good time to teach you a trick. Hold on. So if you can't get your Teflon on your threads and it's a real tight spot, you can use a pencil and go the opposite way with your Teflon on it that you would from your threads. Give yourself enough Teflon here. Alright. Now you can get in tighter spots like this. You know, I'm rolling it around. How much Teflon do you put? It depends on my attitude, but between 6-8 wraps around is fine. Okay, so we're all Tefloned up. Now, I like this stuff. It's made for HVAC stuff, but I like it because it's clear. It's a clear stuff, and it don't stain your clothes. I hate going home with stained clothes. And it makes a nicer looking job. Does it matter? Only to me when I go to bed at night. I know I walked away and it looked good. And it's a good sealant, this stuff. Okay. So now we're gonna go ahead and install our mixing valve on the water heater. There's an advantage of installing a mixing valve on your water heater, and that is number one is safety. It protects you and your customer from getting scalded. Subject to opinion here. All depends on your water chemistry. You know, you have hard water. None of this stuff lasts long with bad water. You know, if you have hard water, this stuff doesn't last long at all. So you got to make sure your water chemistry is good. But this mixing valve does other things. It kills viruses. I'm going to teach you something in a little bit once we're done installing this mixing valve. A mixing valve can increase the capacity of your water heater a little bit. You turn the gas valve up just a touch. Keep the temperature inside your water heater around 130 to 140 degrees. It kills off viruses, increases the capacity a little bit, and we adjust the water temperature up here. I got a little, while I'm giving you all a little bit of education here, one thing you got to keep in mind is everybody loves their hot water, right? What happens when you turn your water heater, your water temperature rather, up real hot, past 120 to 125 degrees, you start creating problems in your house. You're gonna get burned, number one. You don't want to burn yourself. Everyone likes that hot shower, right? The problem is the problem when you turn your water heater up really hot like that, you create problems with your diverters upstairs, aside from getting burned, right? So you create problems with your diverters in your showers, in your tubs and your showers, anything with a thermostatic mixing valve, your single control valves. You install your water heater, you turn your water heater, you love it, but then you go to take a shower and you're like, you run out of hot water and you don't know why. You just put a new water heater in. Inside the shower valve, there's a anti-scald device inside the cartridge that prevents you from getting scalded. So when the water hits that thermostatic mix valve, it shuts the hot water off so you don't get burned, giving you a side effect of no hot water. And you're like, what the hell? I just put a new water heater in and I'm getting no hot water out of my shower. Well, you turned your water heater up too hot. So you got to use a thermometer. When we're done here today, we're going to show you that we test the water, your temperature for you before we leave the house. And I always explain to everybody that scenario. And if you don't have that problem, you will definitely end up with that problem, especially with a few certain brands like Simmons, which is one of the most popular brands, and Moen. Those two brands are notorious for giving an indication of no hot water. You think you have a hot water issue with wherever your hot water source is, and it's simply not. The water's too hot. So we're going to go ahead and grab these parts here. This mixing valve, what it does is it takes a little cold water and it mixes the hot water coming out. And this is where we're going to be doing our temperature adjustments in a little while. This little tube here is what gives it the cold water. I'm going to take this off and show you something real quick. On a water heater, explain something here. Okay, so on a water heater, I get a question on how long does the water heater last? Okay, water heaters don't last long when they're not installed correctly. Water chemistry, maintenance, water pressure. So we like to put in what we call an expansion tank, because when a water heater heats up, when you heat water, it expands. When it cools off, it contracts. The water heater's going like this all the time when there's nowhere for the expansion to go to. So we like to put an expansion tank on. So when we put a mix-it valve in, a lot of mix-it valves have a check valve in it, like this one does. This one has a check valve, allows water one way and then not backwards, so you don't get a cross connection. On this one, does not have a check valve for a reason, okay? And that's so you can install a expansion tank before the water comes into the tank. So when the water heater expands, we have a place for the expansion migration to hit the expansion tank. So I thought I'd throw that out there, because there are mixing valves out there that have check valves all over the place. You got to be careful. That's when you want to add a T on the cold side right at the water heater, and then add your tank. Be careful of that, otherwise you're installing a expansion tank that doesn't do anything for your water heater. Okay. Sometimes we go to jobs blindly, and in an emergency situation like this one where the water heater was leaking pretty bad, customer had no hot water in a flooding basement, so we came there with a water heater, unexpected, seeing all these other things like the gas piping and etc. So sometimes we're not prepared to start fresh and bring things that we want to do it 100% perfect. CSST and the gas piping, the grounding wire, and all that stuff we're going to be set up to do later. Our main mission was just to get our customers some hot water. So some of the stuff you see we left there are going to be corrected later on down the road, and we can get that scheduled in to fix it all up right. So that's probably why you're probably wondering why we didn't fix that right then and there. Well, if you're a service plumber, you understand. So I thought I'd put that out there. That yellow CSST gas piping was added in an emergency. It looks like somebody called the person to install a fireplace, and where they found a easy access to get the gas, and certainly not correct. Definitely don't do that. That's not the right way to do things. You know, you're not doing anybody any justice by doing kind of work like that. Your local codes might be different than ours here in the Northeast. Some areas require some hurricane strapping on their water heaters here. And just make sure you're following your local code. Here in the Northeast, they don't require that. So I thought I'd put that out there too if you're wondering why we don't do that. So. So we're filling up the tank. We're gonna go and open up the hot water side. We have a utility sink right around the corner. Get this thing all cleared out and do a few other steps. Get the thing fired off. Get your relief valve drop here. You can see the relief valve drop. That too. Here in Connecticut, they make us do funky stuff like this to the end of the relief valve drop. I think it's kind of funny. So you can't put a fitting on it. You're not supposed to plug them off. A little bit of Teflon on here, or some dope, anything like that. Just a little bit. Would you be so kind to go open up the hot water side of the utility sink for me? Leave it open. We have a few things left to do. We're gonna check the pressure in the house and make sure we don't have any more than 80 psi coming in. If we do, we're gonna recommend a pressure reducing valve. Manufacturers don't like that, so we're gonna make sure the pressure's where it needs to be. Then what we need to do is we need to calibrate the expansion tank. The air in the expansion tank, we need to make sure it matches the incoming pressure. So stay tuned. Okay. So let's grab our pressure gauge first.
Pressure gauge.
And I need a flat gauge. So we have our pressure gauge on the bottom of the tank here. Super important to check that stuff out. Just notice here that you got a pressure gauge. I put them on the water heater and we check the pressure, and we've got where pressures are okay. So we're going to go ahead and match the expansion tank air with that pressure. Okay, so when you do this, you shut the water back off, and you have to drain pressure off to calibrate the air in the tank. So before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and document my pressure here. You can use whatever air compressor you have. I use a Milwaukee. I use a Milwaukee because it has a nice digital display on it. Right now we're at 22 psi. We need to bring this pressure up to 70 psi and meet the incoming street pressure. Now our tank's calibrated properly. We'll turn our water back on. Can you open up the hot water side for me, buddy? Probably already is open, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we've come to the completion of the domestic water side of the water heater installation. Now we're going to go ahead and check for the gas leaks with our testing equipment before we fire it off. Okay, so we're going to do a gas sniffing test here. Go to turn it on. We gotta make sure it gets calibrated first. So we'll let that sit for a minute until it starts to beep. While that's doing that, we can take our, wait for that. Okay, so we're going to turn our gas on. Before we do anything. We got to get gas up to the valve first. So I usually crack the union a little bit till I start to smell it. Okay, you heard that go beep, 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 beep. That's gas. Obviously. I like to do a one-up and I check everything while I have my meter in the basement. Make sure we didn't create a leak during the removal and the installation. I'll go through all of it for my customer. You want to check everything. Even from the factory, I've had leaks on the gas valve here. You grab this camera here to show you. Okay. Always check everything. Cover your ass. Check everything out. Make sure. I've had these pilots leak from the factory. Everything seems to be okay, though. Yeah. Check all of this out here. And turn this on. When we made earlier in the video, I said I like to actually have these leak and then tighten them till they don't leak. Everything's good. All right. Right here. There. I'm gonna come over here. Just check everything out, always being courteous to everybody, yourself and your customer. Okay, so our water heater's all set. My battery had died, so I missed a few things I want to point out to you. That's pretty important. One thing is we like to make sure we wait for the water heater to come up to full temperature before we do any adjustments to our mix-in valve. Our mix-in valve being a Caleffi mix-in valve. We run the water after the water temperatures come up to temp in the water heater and the gas valve is shut off. We're gonna adjust our tempering valve here. Right now we're 120 degrees. That's where we're going to leave it. Get the water temperature to come up. The gas valve stops. We run the water and we adjust our tempering valve here. One thing we missed today on camera is testing our gas valve. On the bottom of our gas valves, we have a port where we use a gas manometer. We want to make sure the gas pressure has 4 inches of water column using a manometer. Again, if you're not a professional, please do not touch this gas valve. If you don't have the proper water column and gas pressure here, it's like cooking burgers on a gas grill outside with a empty tank of propane. You just got to go to Walmart. This water heater would not run properly. So, other than that, everything's all set here. We take the gas. We take the handle off the hot side because of Connecticut code here. We're not supposed to have a valve on the hot side. We use it. We put one on anyways to make sure we have a way to shut that off when we come to service it. This is not a homeowner for homeowners to use. Other than that, the water heater's all set. It's up to code. We are going to be coming. We have somebody coming back to put a ground wire back to the panel, and we're going to talk about trying to straighten this gas valve out. This gas piping, excuse me. But other than that, thanks for joining us today on our water heater install. What do you have to say, Josh?
Did a good job. Everything's up to code. Ready to go.
See you on the next video.